is Bollywood suffering from some content crisis?
I have never thought there's a content crisis.
It's not about nepotism, it's about knowledge.
I've launched 42 directors, first-time directors, and enough actors and technicians to sink a ship.
And you launched Shah Rukh Khan also.
And Raveena Tandon.
Okay.
And Rahul Bose. And Boman Irani.
Let's clap for that.
And Mukul Dev.
Hello everybody. Welcome to this interactive session on filmmaking and Bollywood, the road ahead. We have with us Mr. Vivek Aswani, actor, writer and producer. My name is Sudeshna Chaudhary. I'm an associate professor at the School of Modern Media. So Vivek, my first question is about Bollywood. So is Bollywood suffering from some content crisis?
42 years. I've made 42 films. I've launched 42 directors, first-time directors, and enough actors and technicians to sink a ship.
And you launched Shah Rukh Khan also.
And Raveena Tandon.
Okay.
And Rahul Bose. And Boman Irani.
Let's clap for that.
And Mukul Dev. And Sanjay Gupta and Sanjay Gadvi and Ashutosh Gavalikar and Aziz Mirza and Anant Mahadeval and
The list is,
Dilip Joshi.
unending. Yeah.
So, half the industry.
Yes.
And I have never thought there's a content crisis. So, which are these so-called experts? But the problem is the armchair critics. No, they sit down and they are able to talk about Bollywood without even being part of it. So, we dismiss them. The crisis is not content. The crisis is that in my days, in the 70s, in the 80s, whether it was G.P. Sippy who made Sholay, whether it was N.N. Sippy who made Sargam, whether it was N.N. Sippy who launched Subhash Ghai with Kali Charan, whether it was Rajshri Productions and Tarachand Barjatya, whether it was Shakti Samanta who made Aradhana, Amar Prem, Kati Patang, Anurodh, Ajnabi, Anurag, whether it was Pramod Chakrabarti who made Jugnu and Naya Zamana and Azad, they were stakeholders. They owned the content they produced. They owned their films. They went to the studios and decided that this is what they wanted to make. They either directed their own films or they hired directors, but it was their film. They owned it. They decided which theatre. They decided what would be the ticket price. In the 70s and the 80s, whether it was Raj Kapoor or Vijay Anand, whether it was Dev Anand or Subhash Ghai, whether it was Shakti Samanta or J. Om Prakash, they owned Bollywood.
And now who owns Bollywood?
Now they're all paid employees of corporates. And
So
paid
corporate
employees
culture.
do not have decision making, no?
So it's lack of leadership is what you're saying.
And lack of communication, because now nobody talks. Everyone is sending emails to everybody else and people don't see their emails over the weekend. It is complete chaos. It sounds like it isn't, but it's complete chaos.
We see a lot of like star kids who are coming into, the movie business. So in a way, we sometimes feel, it's a bit distant from what, small town, boys and boys and girls and the aspirations are used to be. Is that a right picture?
Completely wrong.
Okay.
Understand one thing. When you're born in Rishi Kapoor's house, by the time you're 2 years old, you know the business. You know how much Rishi Kapoor is charging. You know what Ranveer Kapoor is charging. You know what Neetu Singh's price was.
But will that stop other people who are not from the Rishi Kapoor's family?
If they don't want to learn, then of course it's going to stop.
But how are they going to learn if there is no access? Accessibility is a huge problem.
It's called Google.
It's not about nepotism, it's about knowledge.
In the day of smartphones and Google, who has an excuse for not having knowledge? Who has one excuse for not having knowledge? Where is your excuse? And this then becomes into a situation where we all have excuses, but success doesn't come from excuses. If your passion translates into knowledge, then it is true passion.
So there is no nepotism in the industry, that's what you're saying?
There is no nepotism ever. We want professionals who know the business.
We would like to take some quick questions, from students. Yeah.
Yes, so you mentioned that the industry, the manufacturing industry is a corporate world right now. And even you also mentioned that the OTT platforms are also following the corporate culture. But we see that the OTT platforms have a good content. You mentioned...
Again, you're using the word good. Until you don't define that word good, I don't understand.
Sir,
What do you think is good as opposed to what I think is good?
sir, according to me, the one that works out and...
But works out in what? What is the template of what it works
It's like
out?
commercially.
Sir, what
See, this is what, it's so easy to say, oh, Lal Singh Chadda was not a good film.
Next question.
So for you, it doesn't matter corporate, non-corporate. If you are able to create successful content and go to an OTT platform with a balance sheet, along with a script, the whole thing flip-flops and changes. Yep.
Alright, so my question is, let's say someone who doesn't belong to a very rich family or middle class family.
Like me.
Yeah, and like me. And he or she doesn't know whose grandfather is whose niece is or anything like that. Yeah. But the knowledge that he or she has is how to act properly, how to do theatres
Again another myth. Who says we are looking for actors? People don't go to see good performances. They go to see their favorite stars and their favorite faces doing their favorite things again and again and again. In this country, which is the most powerful show on earth, it's called the Ram Leela. For 14 days it goes on. Do we change the script?
Vivek, just a very basic question. So
Yeah.
there is this small town boy, girl, and that person knows, his...
In Narendra Modi's India, every small town boy has Google.
Yes, so that person knows, knows his stuff, okay. So, but you have a Ranbir Kapoor who is born, in a Kapoor family and will have access to a lot of producers.
Right.
And that person, though that person has knowledge, may not have access to what Ranbir Kapoor has.
But then you're
So
telling me
was the
that
question.
Tata is third generation and Mukesh Ambani's father, Dhirubhai Ambani, started with nothing and became it.
Yes.
That is up to you to be powerful and determined and passionate. Go ahead and do it. Shah Rukh Khan is a small towner from Delhi. I taught him, he learned.
So, I am an NSD certified actor. I used to act with NSD.
Huh.
So, I want to ask, how difficult is it for me to get outside of India and get into Hollywood rather than getting into Bollywood?
Everything depends on how much knowledge you have. If you come to Bombay, which Google will tell you, then there is the Cine Artists Association. If you become a member of the Cine Artists Association, it is automatically linked to Screen Actors Guild in the United States of America. And if you correspond with them and say that you're a Cine Artist Association member with your membership number, they will send you the license to be able to perform. In other words, you will not need to get special permission or a work permit because you're already a CINTA member. Once you go there, you will go to the various agents, and all the agents are already listed on Google, whether it's the Betty Ford agency, whether it's the William Morris agency, whether it's Inega, whether it's Toab, they're all there. Go to them with your tape, with your audition reel and start working. Every single Hollywood film today, every, has an Indian EP, an Indian co-producer and an Indian cast.
Just a question.
So, sir, I would like to ask you is that the kind of response OTT platforms are getting is massive. So, do you think that, I'm not saying Bollywood industry, I'm saying manufacturing industry is in big threat?
Because of OTT.
No.
Okay, one more
We
question.
are manufacturing and we are putting it on OTT. All the content that we are manufacturing, we are putting on OTT. We are in a happy space.
One more question.
The retailers who are running cinemas are in a bad space because we are not giving them our movies. We are okay.
Okay, here's one more question.
My name is Ram. My question is, can we see those times again when the producers have the power to sell their film? Like, they can decide at what price will they sell their film at theatres.
I still do. I've chosen to buck the system. I make films like Flight and Roughly. I don't go to the studios. I don't take their money. I go to private investors. I take my money. I make my own films. I put them on OTT platform. I'm happy, man. It's my choice. No? Finally, it's a democracy. I can do what I like. You can do what you like. But you have to know that much of the business. No?
You are saying that you are selling your films on OTT platform.
I'm not selling them. I'm going to the OTT platform and saying it's your platform, it's my film, we'll put it on, we'll share the profit. I'm making more money than anybody else's.
But I want to ask if a producer wants to sell their film on the theatres, like, and want to decide their price, like the ticket would be
The theatres won't allow. They don't allow.
Okay, I think we're running out of time and we'll wrap it up. So thank you so much for coming. Yeah. Thank you, Vivek, for coming. Thank you, everybody. So we spoke about the business of filmmaking. We spoke about corporate culture, and we touched upon various aspects of filmmaking. This was a special broadcast by the School of Modern Media at UPS. Thank you very much.